Hey everyone, welcome back to Mindful English. I'm Sera.
And I'm Liam. Hey everyone. Sera, can I ask you something? Growing up, were you ever the smartest person in the room?
Honestly, no. Were you?
No, and for a long time I thought that was the problem. But it turns out it might have been the best thing that ever happened to us. And today we're going to talk about why. So when I was in my early 20s, I suffered from massive imposter syndrome. I was surrounded by people who were absolute geniuses, naturally gifted, breezed through university exams without studying, and everyone, including me, thought they were destined to change the world. But a decade later, I noticed this really shocking, tragic pattern. So many of those geniuses had completely quit their fields. They burned out, changed careers, or just settled for average lives. Meanwhile, the students who struggled, the ones who were crying in the library just to get a passing grade, they're the ones running companies today.
And Liam, that is such a universal experience. For decades, society has sold us this idea, the talent myth. The belief that successful people are just born with some magical, effortless gift. That if you have to struggle, you're already behind. But modern psychology has completely shattered that. Dr. Angela Duckworth spent years studying elite performers, West Point military cadets, national spelling bee champions, top salespeople. And what she found was that the single greatest predictor of long-term success is not IQ. It's not social intelligence. It's not even work ethic in the traditional sense. It's something she calls grit. Passion and perseverance for extremely long-term goals.
Grit. It's such a loaded word. But Sera, here's the question that always bothered me. If you're naturally talented and everything comes easily, shouldn't you be the one who survives? Why would the gifted ones be the ones who quit?
You would think so. But that is the hidden, toxic curse of talent. When you're naturally gifted, you almost never have to struggle. You always get the gold star. And because of that, your entire identity gets built around being the smart one. That becomes who you are. And life is long, and eventually every single person hits a wall they cannot climb. When a gritty person hits that wall, they think, okay, this is hard. I need to figure it out. But when a genius hits that wall, their entire ego is crushed. They don't think this task is hard. They think, I am stupid. I am a fraud. Because they've never been dropped before, they shatter like glass.
That's exactly it. They shatter like glass because they've never been dropped before. And Sera, this perfectly lines up with something Jensen Huang, the CEO of NVIDIA, said in a speech to Stanford students. These are some of the most brilliant, elite young people in the world. And he said something that honestly stopped me in my tracks. He said, people with very high expectations have very low resilience.
That is one of the most accurate psychological statements I've ever heard.
Because these students were so smart and so privileged, they expected life to be a continuous victory lap. And so Jensen Huang gave them the most brutally honest advice. He said, greatness comes from character. And character isn't formed out of smarts. It's formed out of people who suffered. And then, standing in front of a room full of future billionaires and geniuses, he said, I wish upon you ample doses of pain and suffering.
I wish upon you pain and suffering. It sounds almost cruel, but it is the most honest thing you can say, and neuroscience backs it up completely. Think about how a vaccine works. You inject a tiny, controlled dose of a virus into a child. The body fights it, suffers a little, and builds real immunity. Psychology works the exact same way. When we constantly try to shield ourselves, or our kids, from failure, from discomfort, from struggle, we're removing the psychological vaccine. We're setting people up for catastrophic failure later when the stakes are actually high and there's no one to soften the blow.
Suffering is the vaccine for character. You have to go through the fire to harden the steel. So if we want to build grit, we have to change our relationship with pain. And here's what that actually looks like in practice. When gritty people feel stupid or confused or frustrated, they don't run away from it. They lean into the friction. They stay in it.
And neuroscience tells us why that matters. The feeling of frustration, that uncomfortable, disorienting feeling when something isn't clicking, that is the literal, physical sensation of your brain rewiring itself, growing. If you're not frustrated, you're probably not growing. When gritty people fail, they don't see it as a permanent verdict on who they are. They bounce back. And when they find a glaring weakness, they don't hide it to protect their ego. They double down on fixing it. They go straight at it.
It all boils down to this. Talent might win a 100-meter sprint, but life is a 50-year marathon. And in a marathon, the person with the stamina to push through the pain, day after day, year after year, will always outlast the person who was just naturally fast at the start.
Beautifully said. You stop obsessing over being a genius, and you start taking pride in being unstoppable. Now, let's make sure you have the vocabulary to actually talk about all of this in English, because today's conversation was full of some really powerful expressions. Liam, let's go through them.
So I said that the naturally gifted students just breezed through their exams without studying.
When you breeze through something, it means you complete it with almost no effort. No stress, no struggle, things just flow. She breezed through the interview like it was nothing. And it sounds positive, right? But the problem is, if you always breeze through things, you never develop the muscle to deal with difficulty when it finally shows up.
And when it does show up, when that wall hits, talented people tend to completely fall apart.
To fall apart means to lose your emotional or mental composure under pressure, to the point where you can't really function. He fell apart after the first setback. It's not just feeling stressed. It's when the stress completely overwhelms you, and you have nothing left to hold yourself together.
And the reason so many people fall apart is because we spend so much energy shielding them from anything hard.
To shield someone from something means to actively protect them from pain, difficulty, or risk. Like holding an umbrella over someone in a storm. Her parents shielded her from every failure growing up. And it comes from a good place, but it backfires. Because the storm doesn't disappear. You just never learned how to stand in it.
And by shielding people, you're actually setting them up for something much worse later.
To set someone up for something means to create the conditions that make a certain outcome, usually a bad one, almost inevitable. Avoiding every difficult situation just sets you up for failure down the road. You didn't cause the failure directly, but the conditions you created made it unavoidable.
So what do gritty people do instead? They go through it. They don't find a way around the hard thing.
To go through something means to experience and endure something difficult, fully, without bypassing it. She went through a really tough year, but came out stronger. You don't skip it, you don't shortcut it, you move through it completely. And something changes in you on the other side.
And more than just going through it, they lean into it. They actually move toward the discomfort.
To lean into something means to embrace a difficult or uncomfortable situation instead of pulling away from it, to actively engage with the thing that's hard. Instead of avoiding the feedback, he leaned into it. It takes a real mindset shift, because the instinct is always to pull back. Leaning in is a choice.
And when they fail, and they do fail, they bounce back.
To bounce back means to recover from a setback or failure and return to where you were, or even come back stronger. She lost everything and bounced back within a year. The key thing is speed and direction. You're not slowly dragging yourself back. You bounce. There's energy in it. There's intention in it.
And when they find a weakness, they don't protect their ego. They double down on fixing it.
To double down means to increase your effort or commitment to something, especially when things get hard or uncertain. When the results weren't there, she doubled down on her training. It comes from the idea of doubling your bet in a card game. You're not backing off, you're going harder.
And when you really strip everything away, it all boils down to one thing: resilience.
To boil down to something means to reduce something complex to its most essential point, the one thing that really matters when everything else is removed. After all the analysis, it boils down to one question. Are you willing to keep going? It's the simplest version of the truth.
And keeping going, that's the whole thing. You push through.
To push through means to continue doing something difficult or painful until you get to the other side, refusing to quit even when every part of you wants to stop. He was exhausted, but he pushed through and finished. It's not about feeling good, it's about moving forward anyway.
Talent might get you started, but it's the ability to push through that gets you to the end.
Stop wishing you were naturally gifted. Start respecting the struggle, because the struggle is doing something that talent never could.
If this episode resonated with you, share it with someone who needs to hear it. And we'd love to know, what's one thing you're going to lean into this week? Tell us in the comments. We really do read every single one.
And if you want more expressions like today's, our previous episodes are full of them. Everything from today is also in the pinned comment. All right, we'll see you next time. Take care, everyone.
Take care.
Isn't this view incredible?
Yes, the sunset is magical. I could ride this train forever.